Does it feel like we're running out of ideas? Because that's kind of what this era feels like. We've had the same decks for a while now. We've had the voting for Shadalls, and the anime might be coming to a close soon. This is a little discussion on, well, why does the game feel like we haven't made any real progress as of late, and, well, what's going on with the anime? So this is Vrains might be ending, and we might be without an anime for a little while. What's going to happen to the card game? Let's dig on into this, shall we? Coming in the year 2020, Master Rule, man, anytime we have a new Master Rule, I'm just like, yikes. So here's what's going on in the community. Evidently, last week there was a little announcement that kind of went by that was like, oh hey, the Vrains, there's new anime taking the Vrains time slot on TV. Well, if you've been keeping up with Vrains as of late, you've kind of noticed that this feels like the last arc. Spoiler alert, with Mr. I being a bad guy now, you've really kind of got this real passive close to story. And considering the next anime is supposed to take place in 2020, it would make sense for them to kind of be wrapping this up at a decent pace. We've kind of noticed that most Yu-Gi-Oh! Series are lucky if they make it to the 150 episode mark, and Vrains is chugging along to its nearly closing finale. So, let this be a note that, with the way that things are going in the anime, yeah. You have to remember, the anime sells the card game. If there's not a good anime, this will be the first time that we've actually been without an anime for a little while, because usually for the last couple of blocks, maybe we'd be a week or two off, but we would be at the point that we would literally have week to get, we'd bridge it out, we'd go into the next anime. We're going to be a couple of months without the anime. I'm expecting it to be October, November, December, and then January, February, March. That is 6 months, maybe April, maybe 7 months without an anime if the story is coming to a close. Now, things that we do know. They did announce that in December they would be bringing us news about the anime, which if the Vrains story ends up wrapping up here, and we are coming to a close on this, okay, good. December's not a long ways away. Actually, it's just October, November, and I'm sure they'll give us something come October, come November, if this is actually the case. If we are truly ending this and wrapping this up at this point, yeah, it would make sense. Alright, I'll be completely honest, it shocks me a bit that this is the case, but there's no point in beating an anime to death, just to get more content. You have to subtly wrap it up, give them time. Now, we've noticed, here's a good thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! As of late. While it might feel like we're running out of ideas, and I do mean that sincerely, like, the way that the game is going, and the most powerful themes that have kind of come out as of late, feels like we're running out of ideas, but that's not a bad thing. Konami's open up the doors and allowed players to vote on that structure deck. You guys know that Shadal structure deck that won, by the way. I really wanted the Phantasm base to win. I mean, everybody wanted Raviel Hamon support. I also wanted Charmers to win. You have to ask yourself at this point in time, and I'm sure that we've taken note of this. Like, there'd be no reason for us not to have taken note of what's going on here. But here's what we got out of this, alright? We know that Shadalls won. Shadalls are getting a structure deck. That's great. But you can't tell me that Konami did not take note of the other structure decks. Look at the solid numbers. It would have been a massively failed opportunity for them as a company as a whole to not take note of this. Because this is the first time that they've pulled solid data from across the world and actually got the chance to see what the player base has. And I've said this before in other videos. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw support come out of, that for other things. I expect future Charmer support. I expect there to be, a Sacred Beast support somewhere along the way. Like, you can't tell me that they're going to be that ignorant and just ignore everything else. That's not how it works. Like, they now have a gauge to see what the player base wants. And this is what you should have been doing in the first place. Communicate with your player base. Not everybody in your player base is a bad thing. I think that's the interesting thing about this game. When you reach out to the player base, you ask them things. Not everybody's going to give you a bad response. I mean, generally speaking, not all of the player base is bad. A lot of it can be pretty toxic, but I mean, you really have that on any side of the game, and that's the thing that stinks. So, here's what we've generally got in terms of consensus. Alright, so, anime's ending. Alright, the game feels a little bit dry in terms of card design. It almost feels kind of like we've literally beat every outlet that we could have for things, but we're still chugging along. We're still doing things. We've reached that point in the format structuring at this point now that if we release a new theme this close to a next supposed master rule, it could be detrimental. Look at Zodiac, by the way. Zodiac came out in a mist of a master rule, and they were the best Xyz archetype that they ever had seen in the game. By the way, Xyz-based archetype in a pendulum era. By the way, let that sink in for the moment. But they're probably the result of, alright, we're getting ready to shift archetypes. We need to push the bill at the moment. And, by the way, Zodiac and Sky Strike are basically the same deck. We're all just a one-card hippity-hoppity boopity bops. It's almost like history repeats itself. Oh, by the way, we've also got a Spell Book of Judgment in our deck. That's kind of sus in terms of card design. So, there's that. Card design, you have to be very, very careful, because while this is a point where players want change and want diversity and things like that, and want new things, you have to be careful, because if you make a mistake at this point, you're going to have at least 6 months of cleanup to do with a new band. Look at Zoo. Alright, that was a solid couple months of cleanup. And then we had to clean up Spiral off of that list. So, let that be noted in the Cliff Notes that card design needs to be taken. While I want to see what the new anime is going to do, and while I want to see new life brought into this game, I also want them to do it correctly. I don't want there to be another dumpster fire like Zodiac. I mean, looks at Sky Striker, looks at Thunder. But okay, so that's the third cliff note on that. I'm sure R&D is doing some. I assume, all notes aside here, we're doing the best we can. Now, that being said, there's a fear going around right now about the anime ending. And this is, I think, the interesting part of this. The player base, it hasn't been said by a lot of people, but I read it a little bit, that we need to do something that, not necessarily reset the game, but we have all of these protagonists. We have all of these summoning mechanics. Alright, we've done a fantastic job at introducing pendulums, introducing all of this. We have an ongoing manga right now, the Structure Deck series, about the adventures of just the Structure Decks. One duelist actually playing the IRL experience. This is the first time that Yu-Gi-Oh's ever taken the perspective of looking at what happens IRL. Now, I don't think this is going to become an anime. I actually wish it would, to be honest with you guys. I think it would be a fantastic adaptation. Show the world what the game is actually like. But I digress. That's a point for another day. The player base is afraid of a reboot. With that being said, do you know how hard it would be to retell the story of Kaiba and Yugi? We've also realized that Yugi and Kaiba sell this game. If you live under a rock, you still care about Yugi. You still care about Kaiba. You care about their antics. A reboot would really... We'd need OG content. We'd need something. There's no new manga coming out for this. So here's the question. If we do a reboot on the game, we hit that detonation button, what happens to the old cards? Things I can tell you, the player base won't like that. Splitting the player base into a dual format with old cards and new cards would be too much of an issue. I don't think it's going to happen. While we could reboot the game through an anime, I don't see it coming. Introducing Yu-Gi-Oh! 2. A fantastic way for us to clean up the mess, slow down the game, and reset it. Oh, by the way, you like speed duels? Well, here's 4,000 life points. Draw 4 cards, you get 3 zones, and you're going to have skill cards. I've made the joke countless times. that the next Master Rule is going to be skill cards out of, Speed Duel. I don't know if it's going to happen, but at this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see a reboot. I think it would be one of the worst things that they'd probably kill Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, the thing that makes this game even have any shred of anything is the collector's market. Those old nostalgia cards, yeah, they're there and they have a lot of value. So the thing that's unique about this game is we continue to build on it, and honestly, that's what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! But what do you guys think? I mean, the anime might be ending soon, but what are you guys expecting out of the next one? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Well, catch you guys on the flip side. Peace out. The ride never, truly ends. Thank you, patrons. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd be wearing in these videos. I might be a truffle shuffle incident all over again. Guys, please also check out Vancol40 for some awesome Vanguard content. Some other interesting stuff you might find up here on the left or in the description as well. Thanks for watching.